We're going to move on to our next question. And Rocky, you can answer. Who is able to sue for negligence, and are there different rules depending on how you were injured?
Okay, so normally the person that is injured can sue. Also, if it's a death case, then the wrongful death beneficiaries can sue for that person. And there's different levels. It would initially be the spouse and the children. And if there's no spouse or children, it could go to the brothers and sisters and maybe the living parents of that person. So that would be who can sue. And then as far as it does depend on how you were injured sometimes, because say you were run over by someone in a car wreck, your damages as a regular person would probably be capped at $1 million. That's what the legislature said back in 2004. But if a, say, doctor committed medical malpractice on you in an operating room and caused you some injury, your damages would be capped at $500,000. So the person that injures you can dictate how much money you can recover under the law. And it's a pretty big difference, Mike. I mean, $500,000, especially when you don't adjust for inflation. What do you think about it?
No question. I mean, it's brutally low. I mean, if you have a child that's burned on 98% of their body, our legislature has decided that case is worth $1 million. And it's very difficult to sit in a conference room and explain that to a family or someone that's paralyzed or whatnot, that their claim, their injury is only worth $1 million. So I agree with you. It is significantly too low for sure.
Mike made a good point about the $1 million cap not being enough. And I think the question is what it boils down to is this. Would you give up your finger, your hand, your foot, a leg for $1 million? I don't know anybody who ever, I know I wouldn't. I've yet to find anybody that would do that. Here's the problem though. We don't tell the jury that there's only $1 million cap on pain and suffering. So the jury may hear a week of evidence, see a young child who's lost a leg, and hear about the next 40, 50, 60 years of life expectancy that this child has, and believe that hear that they're in constant pain, and believe that they are never going to be the same, and want to award them $2.7 million for a lifetime of pain and suffering, disfigurement, mental and emotional distress. Doesn't matter. The legislature has said it doesn't matter. It's capped at $1 million. And we don't even tell the jury. We don't do it until after the verdict. Usually several weeks later, the judge will come because the law says they have to and reduce that $2.7 million award or whatever it was down to $1 million. And it's just not fair. And the other thing is it has not been adjusted for inflation. So when this law passed in 2004, $1 million was a lot more money. Now you'd need $1.4 million just to keep up with inflation. And so it's unfair, it's arbitrary, and it hurts really injured people.
So Rocky, would you say that it's fair that a program like, for LawCall, a great resource to learn more about what actually goes on inside the courtrooms when you make, and that came to mind because you're talking about the jury not knowing about the $1 million cap. So is this one of those educational moments for us to, keep that in mind as potential jurors?
Yeah, I mean, if the juror has done their homework or knows enough about the legal system to know there's $1 million cap, and they answer that truthfully when asked about it during voir dire selection or jury selection, I don't see a problem with that. Certainly, you would never want to hide a fact that you knew of that was crucial to a case. But I just think it's dishonest to not tell them that your verdict doesn't matter over $1 million. There's just no reason not to.